All signs are pointing to Jayson Tatum returning this Friday against the Dallas Mavericks, according to Bill Simmons. Oh my God, it's really happening. This is not a drill. We're all running around the office trying to figure out what all of this means. Caroline, for all of the conversation, remembering that it was a torn Achilles last May, here we sit less than a year later, and right now all signs are pointing to the return of Tatum for a Celtics team that's already exceeded every single expectation we could have. This feels like the Disney moment, right? Like this feels like the storybook ending to a season where suddenly Boston is catapult and all of a sudden they're the favorites to win it all. Tell me I get my storybook ending.
This is like Bobby Boucher coming back to the end of the Bourbon Bowl. Like this is oh, you think that we look scary now? You haven't seen nothing yet. And then Jayson Tatum just pops out like WWE style. I love your storybook ending. I'm
Thank you.
always going to sign up for a storybook ending. This Celtics team without Jayson Tatum looks terrifying. I mean, just watch what they did to the Bucks, obliterating the Bucks last night without Jayson Tatum. Jaylen Brown playing at an MVP caliber level. Adding Jayson Tatum, I mean, it's the cherry on top of everything. I also cannot shake how dominant OKC looks at full strength. So if we're talking about a totally healthy SGA, totally healthy Chet, totally healthy OKC team taking on a Celtics team with Jayson Tatum in the NBA Finals, first of all, sign me up for that. I am here for that. I can't take anyone over OKC when that team is at full strength, with or without Jayson Tatum. It'd be pretty darn close to a fairy tale ending if they just get to a finals. Obviously, winning a finals would be the ultimate Disney Channel story, but I can't take anyone in the East over OKC right now.
I think that's probably fair. To me, it's almost like two separate conversations. If you bring in Tatum, like if we just give benefit of the doubt here, we presume that Tatum comes in and just reassimilates into this offense and this team incredibly flawlessly. I like the fact that there's plenty of time left in the regular season for him to work himself into shape and for them to figure out how the ball is going to move with him back on the court. Like I think there's a lot of benefit to that. If I give it all the benefit of the doubt, the Celtics clearly become the favorite in the East. I don't think that's even questionable. Now the
Right,
question
right.
then becomes, what does it mean for the West? Where frankly, you know that we're obsessed with OKC, we're obsessed with San Antonio. I remain obsessed with the possibility of what Denver can do. So I think the Celtics put themselves in the same category as those teams. I think they put themselves in the same spectrum as those teams. Does it make them better than OKC or better than like? Look, Tatum on the floor is not going to change the fact that there's no great matchup in a 7-game series for anybody against Wemby, right? Like Tatum on the floor isn't going to change
Yeah.
the fact that if you're taking on Denver, you're going to have to figure out a way to slow down Jokic. Like Tatum on the floor doesn't necessarily solve the ills of what you have trying to slow down the opposition. But Tatum on the floor, to me, raises the floor of the Celtics from a team that I think could go to the NBA Finals to a team that I think should go to the NBA Finals. In this system, like you get Tatum back on the floor, it's going to make them, to me, better than Detroit, clearly, better than Cleveland, because I still don't trust Harden to be able to play basketball in a playoff series, clearly. So it elevates them. But this is a team that we've seen with Tatum and Brown win an NBA championship. So there's a level of been there, done that.
Mhm.
There's a level of dominance that comes right back to it. So I'm at least intrigued. I don't think anybody in the East could give the Thunder a better 7-game series than a fully armed Celtics team can. So I think they could give them the toughest run. Can they beat them? I don't know. But I don't think anybody from the East could give a better run to any team in the West than a fully loaded Celtics team can.
I always think about the factor of if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Is there that is a factor at play at all here? That okay, you have this Celtics team that is reeling right now. Jaylen Brown playing, at his absolute ceiling. That adding Jayson Tatum into the mix, it feels a little bit too good to be true, right? Are we underestimating a factor of a ramping up period here? Are we underestimating a factor of you've had this team, this core playing together since the beginning of the season, going back to training camp, and then now you're adding a new element to it, new with an asterisk. I know Jayson Tatum isn't new to the Celtics, but new to this dynamic that they've built this season. I'm not saying that will happen, But I am saying that, maybe there is an element of it's not just plug and play. Like, this isn't video game basketball. This isn't basketball that you just play on paper, because on paper, a great team gets better with Jayson Tatum. But that's not real life basketball, Fitzy. What is your element of concern?
I think,
know, I mean, don't want to be dramatic here, but element of concern that adding Jayson Tatum into the mix may disrupt things temporarily.
I think there's a bit of a readjustment, because certainly Jaylen Brown, who, by the way, didn't even play last night in that slaughter of the Bucks, but Jaylen Brown has been such a key cog for all of this. He's going to have to sort of learn what his role is when he's splitting some of that, right? So I do think that that's fair. If I'm going to be consistent, though, we talked on this show, and I don't have the updated number here, but as of a couple of weeks ago, the biggest stars of OKC had only played 42 minutes together all year, right? So if I'm going to talk about the need for Tatum and Brown to figure out like how that offense runs together, isn't it also fair to say, well, OKC's going to have a readjustment period as well? Now, we don't say that because OKC's coming off of a championship. But again, that's where I come back to the Celtics aren't that far removed from a championship with these key pieces. Like, how much different would our entire view of the Celtics look if Tatum hadn't hurt that Achilles last year? I think the Celtics last year went into this portion of the season when Tatum was hurt with the real expectation that they were going to be able to get back to the NBA Finals and maybe win another championship. So I think that is there a reacclimation? Probably, but the fact that we're not that far removed from greatness from this roster as constructed essentially, I think that there's a real chance to get right back. It's like riding a bike at that point for them as much as it is for OKC, who's also missed so much time this year.
Yeah, and the OKC point is a very fair one. I also don't think it's a totally apples to apples comparison for a couple of reasons. One, this core has only played a limited number of minutes, the fewest number of minutes together in any other team in the NBA, but it's not one piece that's been gone the entirety of the season that's coming back in the most critical point in this season. It's been, injuries here and there. This guy's hurt. It hasn't been such a drastic change of one guy's out and you're adding another guy. The other thing, too, is we've seen OKC be able to play really good basketball when they're playing their JV squad, when they're playing their B team. So it's like Oklahoma City has shown us time and time again and proven to us time and time again that they don't need their starting five on the court on any given night. It's a level of depth down up and down the roster, a level of depth on their bench that's proven to be reliable. It's a fair point, but I think also same but different. You bring up the Achilles. I mean, yes, if Jayson Tatum didn't tear his Achilles last season, of course we would look at the Celtics differently. Of course. Losing your star player changes everything, changes your perception of everything. I'm only bringing up the reacclimation period or the ramping up period because I think it's a realistic thing, but I also don't think it's something that's going to derail the Celtics season entirely. Of course not. That would be selling Jayson Tatum short. That would be selling what he matters, what he brings to this team, how much he matters to this team wildly short.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like the ceiling for Tatum is so high. And part of this is that I believe Joe Mazzulla has done such an incredible job as a coach. This puts a lot more on Joe Mazzulla to figure it out. But my God, if we came into this year, if when Tatum went down against the Knicks, if we had said at the time, well, next season they won't even take a step back with Tatum, I think everybody would be having a real conversation about, Joe Mazzulla, Coach of the Year. I think he's still in that conversation, should be in that conversation. He's going to prove that right now, though, because he's going to have to be great for the course of this. For this to work, Caroline, he's going to have to be great.
And it's not just Jayson Tatum. It's moving on from Al Horford in the offseason. It was moving on from Kristaps Porzingis in the offseason. And then also the Jayson Tatum injury. It's all of these new pieces and a lack of turnover from last year's roster that Joe Mazzulla was able to keep intact and continue to make this team a championship contender. I've been saying it for weeks. Joe Mazzulla needs to be getting more love and more in the conversation for Coach of the Year.